Hey everyone, welcome to the Bruce Williams channel. I'm glad you tuned in today. In this video, I'd like to talk about the Artist Sun Wukong limited edition from Oris. It's an Aquis in the 41.5 millimeter size with a hand-painted Cloisonne enamel dial that retails for $27,500 and it's stainless steel. Now, I'm going to talk about the details. I'm going to give my opinions on this watch. I did have hands-on with this piece at a press event in Vail, Colorado in January of this year, where Oris unveiled some of their upcoming releases for the year. And I've got to say, to really appreciate this watch, I think you have to see it in person and to see the depth of the artistry displayed on that handcrafted dial. It really is something else in person. And I hope some of that quality comes through here as I drop in pictures and clips of that beautiful watch. Now, here's the thing. I'd like to answer two different questions throughout the duration of this video, and they're my own opinions here. Now, here are the questions. One, why the Aquis? Why take a hand-painted Cloisonne enamel dial and place it in a dive watch with integrated lugs? Why not put it in something more dressy and traditional with an alligator strap? Why the Aquis? Does that make sense? That's the first question I'm going to answer. And the second question is, wow, the price, almost $28,000. That's steep. Why would I buy this? Why wouldn't I go buy a precious metal Rolex at retail or a used Longa 1 or something else? Why would I buy a steel Aquis even if it does have a hand-painted dial in a numbered edition to 72 units? Who's going to buy this? Those are the questions we're going to answer today. And first, let's start with some details of the watch. It's 41.5 millimeters in overall diameter, and I like that size. I've owned multiple different Aquis models over the years, and I've got to say the 41.5 is my sweet spot. It's substantial enough to have presence and light play and weight, but it's not too large, it's not too tall. The bracelet, because of the integrated nature of the design, it doesn't feel too wide. There's a good taper, there's a good fit and feel. And this watch will come with the Caliber 400, which is Oris's in-house movement with a 10-year service interval, a 10-year warranty, a high level of magnetic resistance, and a lot of niceties like a long power reserve and various other items that we like to see as tech lovers. Watch enthusiasts. The Caliber 400 is a good choice for this size, this specific model. Now, the design inspiration comes from, it's a film that I have not seen, so I'm unfamiliar with the source material, but it's a Chinese animated film from 1961 called The Monkey King, and apparently there's an underwater palace belonging to the Dragon King that this design is based off of. So you see a lot of blue, you see lighter shades and darker shades, and you see flow, you see curvaceous lines, and so that's where the design is coming from. And it takes one artist 1 month to create 2 dials. It's a very involved process of hand painting and then firing and then hand painting and then firing the dial again, and slowly, layer upon layer, a beautiful work of art is created. And it becomes apparent when you look at it that you can't mass produce this. This is something you can't print, you can't screen, you can't fake. It really is lovely in person and unique, and every dial is going to be slightly different from the rest, and you see the depth and you see the level of reflection and the different areas with the shine and with the sparkle. You could almost swear that you see some Australian opal here and there. I mean, it really is a lovely dial that takes a long time to produce. Now let's answer that first question. Why the Aquis? Why not put this in something more dressy and traditional? Well, here's my opinion, guys. The Aquis is the best-selling model from Oris, and it's the model that a lot of watch enthusiasts think about when they picture Oris. They think of the Aquis. It's a design that they've refined and fine-tuned over the years, and I think they've got it very well dialed in. It's not too large, it's not too small. It's substantial. It carries wrist presence. It carries water resistance. It carries a nice bracelet. It is the quintessential Oris design in the contemporary period of this independent Swiss brand's history. And so I think it's very fitting that they take this lovely dial and they place it in their most well-known and well-loved product. To me, that makes sense. It would make less sense to put this in something dressy on an alligator. That's something that Breguet would do. That's something that another brand would do. This is not something that Oris would do. If you think about their slogan, for a long time it's been go your own way. And so looking at this, I think this is Oris living up to their slogan and adding upon the history or the habit that they've made of doing things that are unexpected, like the PPX or a 38 millimeter pink dial, full bronze Diver 65. They do the unexpected, and sometimes that's a really great thing to do. So I think the Aquis would be the logical choice for this. And I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that there's nothing on this dial. There's no logo, there's no branding, there's no indexing, which makes setting the time kind of a pain in the butt if you're not doing it when the hands are completely vertical at the 12 marker. This watch, it's about the artistry of the dial. You don't see Swiss made. You don't see Monkey King printed. You don't see anything other than the dial. If you look at the bezel insert outside of the dial, there's no Arabics. There's just vertical indexing hash marks, and I think it's appropriate. It's celebrating the dial in an Oris individualistic style that I'm kind of drawn to. Now, here's the thing. Am I going to buy one of these? Am I going to drop $27,000 on this watch? No, I'm not the target demographic here. And I think a lot of you watching are probably not the target demographic for this specific watch. When we want to spend money for the first time at any particular price segment, we want to maximize that value, whether it's $500 or $5,000 or $20,000, $30,000. We want to get the best watch we possibly can because, at least for us as a first-time consumer, that might be the only time that we spend that amount of money on one watch. So that's very logical. If I'm going to spend 30 grand for the first time, I'm probably looking at a used Lange. Maybe I'm looking at a Daytona in yellow gold on Oyster Flex, or maybe I'm looking at bumping up the budget to get a full gold bracelet from Rolex, either a sub or a Day-Date. I'm looking at maybe spending less and getting something from another brand, high horology piece in stainless steel, or maybe a really great complication like a flyback chronograph from any number of brands. I'm looking at that. I'm not necessarily looking at buying an Aquis, even if it is a lovely hand-painted dial. But here's the thing. We assume that a lot of collectors are like us, that have, the same types of desires. They're moving at the same journey, the same pace. But there are so many different types of collectors out there globally that are in different positions, and it's all relative. So when we can go drop $2,000 on a Longines and it's, not stressing the budget or anything like that, it's not a big deal. There are watch collectors that drop $30,000 on a watch on a regular basis, and it's not a strain for them. It's not a big deal. It's kind of like us going and buying, a $1,000 watch or a $500 watch, and we do it on a regular basis. So I think the target demographic for the Sun Wukong Artist Edition is the collector that has spent $30,000 multiple times in their collecting journey. And maybe they have, watches that they've spent 50 grand, 80 grand. Maybe they've got full precious Pateks. Maybe they've bought, a Richard Mille at 200,000 at retail. There are collectors out there that it's not a big deal to spend $27,500 on a watch. In fact, it might be more exciting to buy a hand-painted Cloisonne enamel dial that's interesting and hard to get a hold of, very limited, very different, than to go buy another precious metal Rolex when they already have 5 or 6 in the collection. So I think there are at least 72 people globally that fit that type of bill, that type of collector, and it wouldn't surprise me if Oris has already pre-sold all, if not a majority, of these watches because, again, it's for a different type of collector that's not spending $27,500 for the first time. Like a lot of us watching this video, we would go, I'm not going to buy that. I'm going to go buy something different that is better value for money in my mind. Whereas, for the person buying this watch, it's a completely different story, if that makes sense. So that's what I think of the Sun Wukong Artist Edition. I think it's a really interesting piece. I'm glad to have had some hands-on with the model. It's not for me personally. I think it's not for a lot of you watching this video, but it is something that I can appreciate. And let me know what you think of the model. Do you think the Aquis was the good choice for the platform? Do you like the Caliber 400? What do you think of the Artisan dial? What do you think of the model in general? I'm often surprised when I see the nuance and the depth to some of your comments on my page. I always enjoy reading the comments, so let me know what you think of the watch. Thank you for watching today. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.